Just ahead on American Black Journal, Detroit's Charles H. Wright Museum is celebrating 60 years. We're going to talk about the museum's founder and its legacy. Plus, we'll tell you about a new play from Teen Hype that examines the challenges faced by young people here in Detroit. You don't want to miss today's show. American Black Journal starts right now.
From Delta faucets to Behr paint, Masco Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. Masco, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Support also provided by the Cynthia and Elsa Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit PBS.
DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit PBS. Among the state's largest foundations committed to Michigan-focused giving, we support organizations that are doing exceptional work in our state. Learn more at dtefoundation.com.
Also brought to you by Nissan Foundation and viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. This year marks a major milestone for the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. 60 years ago this month, Dr. Charles H. Wright and 32 members of the Detroit community agreed to support the creation of a museum about the Black experience. In honor of this anniversary, the museum is holding a free day of family activities on March 8th. Here to talk more about that event and the museum's history is Kevin Davidson. He is the Wright's longtime director of design and fabrication services. Kevin, welcome to American Black Journal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So let's start with your history with the Wright, which goes back quite a ways. Not quite 60 years,
Not quite,
but
two-thirds.
The majority of that, right?
Right.
How did you come to the museum?
I actually was introduced to the museum in 1980, and I was on loan, placed on loan to the museum from the Detroit Council of the Arts at the time to work on an exhibit that focused on Black insurance companies. And we completed that project, and I went on, and I got a call from the museum in 1982. And Dr. Wright wanted me to come in and work on an exhibit on Black voting rights. And so I met with him, and he gave me a book and said, this is something that you're going to extract your script from. I remember the author's name was Holt. I can't remember his first name. I think it was Robert Holt. And so from there, he kind of paired me with one of the longtime volunteers, Margaret Zarif, and she collected images. I did some additional research and designed and installed that exhibit on voting rights.
Yeah.
And he loved it.
And he hired you.
Yeah. And so
and you've been there since.
Right. And he invited, he said, I need you to do one on Charles Drew. And I did that. Wow. And then he asked me to redesign the mobile unit, which traveled all around the state. And so I did that, and he said, well, you may as well stick around.
Right, we're going to keep you here.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to hear you talk about the things you were working on then, an exhibit about Black insurance companies, an exhibit about voting rights. That really does sum up the range of Dr. Wright's imagination and vision about what this could be, the full gamut of the Black experience. And that's really a good way to describe the museum.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Talk about, in those early days, though, what the museum was like and how different it is now. I mean, now it's basically like a monument, right? I mean, it's this wonderful physical space. Back then, it was a little more understated.
Yeah, it was located first in the basement of a 3-row house on West Grand Boulevard and Warren, right on the corner. It was Dr. Wright's residence. He and his family lived there. And so when he founded the museum, he set up exhibits in the basement. He eventually moved downtown, and basically went in and converted all of those spaces to gallery spaces. So when I started, part of my job too was to convert some spaces. So I worked with a carpenter, and we went in and, tore out walls and did some plastering and converted some spaces. And so I started installing exhibits. It's a house, it's a 3-row house. So, when we had tours, you had to take them up the stairs, into the gallery, back out, and into the next building, and back out, and then into the next building, and back out. Dr. Wright's sister volunteered with us at the time, Pearl Battle, and it was the two of us, conducting these tours through the building. And, we went from that to a structure that we built from the ground up in the Cultural Center that's occupied by CCS now on the corner of Frederick Douglass and Brush. And even before we moved into that building, plans were already underway for the facility we're in right now.
For the museum itself.
Yes,
that everyone is so familiar with now.
Yes, So Dr. Wright had his vision, and then Coleman Young had his vision, and so they kind of merged. And Coleman Young came up with the funding to support the construction and to maintain the facility.
Talk about the difference between making exhibits in the basement of a 3-row house and the space you have now. I'm thinking of the Jefferson exhibit that was there just a few years ago. The wonderful art and the costume exhibit that was there last year. I mean, these are large scale kinds of exhibits now. Very different from being in a basement.
It's a different world. Everything had to be put together by hand, and I'm taking little letters and creating, these introductory panels, and everything had to be constructed by hand back then. More time consuming, we were doing key lines for prints and all of that. And so it was a different world. And of course, when you compare just, the space, you're talking about, a bathroom versus a mansion,
right?
But along with the change in facilities, you can bring in contractors, and so that's part of what I do is, do the elevations and floor plans and construction drawings, and they take those and build these platforms and cases. And
I mean, they're experiences, right?
Yes.
I mean, I always feel like you're walking through the subject matter when I'm there.
That's our goal. And I worked on our core exhibit, Being Still We Rise, and we wanted to make that fully immersive, and so we certainly achieved that with that exhibit, and we continue to pursue that.
Let's talk about March 8th and this celebration at the museum. What will people find when they come to the museum?
Well, it's called History in the House, and it's a free event open to the public. We've got the Alvin Ailey Dance Theater coming through. They're going to have a conversation in our theater, and there's a VIP reception that's also a part of that. And we have a whole list of programs going on throughout the day, including gallery talks, and we're inviting all all of the Wright babies.
Wright babies, right?
Some 7,000 of them.
Right.
To the museum.
I happen to be one of them.
Yes. we can celebrate that.
No, there's so many people. There are so many people, especially my age. African Americans in this community who were delivered by Dr. Wright.
Exactly.
His name is on our birth certificate.
Absolutely.
And that's a huge part of his legacy. And I always feel like in some ways that was part of the inspiration for him, that he was helping to perpetuate and create the Black community here through his work, and that the museum is a way to preserve that.
Absolutely.
And to memorize,
I love
to
that
remember
perspective.
and celebrate it.
Yeah. And, whenever he had patients come through, they got a spiel. I got this museum. I want you to support it.
I want you to help with this, right?
Yeah.
He was always pushing that idea and the idea that and this 60th anniversary, you guys have a lot of other things.
During the course of the year, we have these conversations with our president, CEO, Neil Barkley.
Yes.
One of the standout conversations is going to be with Regina Carter, who is from Detroit.
Yes, one of my absolute favorite Detroiters. I am just in love with her, and her music is unbelievable.
Yes,
right?
it is.
Yeah.
And so she's got this incredible presentation that focuses on Black Bottom Paradise Valley, and so she's playing, and it's beautiful. And so she'll be here engaging in that conversation and performance in May. Yeah. And so we have those types of performances going on throughout the year. We're looking to have this culmination of the gathering of Wright babies take place sometime around the gala. And at the very least, we're looking to photograph as many of those who get registered with us. So on the 8th, we'll have these little cards with QR codes. You'll be able to input your name, and then we'll make contact with you, and you get to participate in the programming we have going on throughout the year that's dedicated to that as part of our 60th.
Yeah. Well, it's a huge milestone, and of course, the museum is such a rock in this in this community. Kevin, it's really great to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, up next, we're going to hear about a play that was produced by the organization Teen Hype. But first, here's a clip from a 1997 American Black Journal conversation between Dr. Charles Wright and host Daryl Wood.
You and I, several years ago, talked at the prior home of the museum, and it was at that time that it became eminently clear to me that what was most important to you was that the Museum of African American History be an institution supported by Black people for Black people.
Correct. It's still true, because I think there should be a feeling of ownership, belonging to it. And you get that by building such institutions from the ground upward rather than from the top downward.
One of the things I remember at that point was that there seemed to be quite a struggle to get people to come on board as individual contributors and donors in the Black community. It was a task that was a bit akin to pulling teeth. Did you find that that was the case all the way through up to this point?
No, before we moved into the Cultural Center, we had about an 18-year history on the corner of West Grand Boulevard and West Warren. And we received very little in the way of donations. The Black United Fund and other organizations did help us a lot. But a lot of the money came from the people. I went to Dr. Jefferson in the public school system and suggested that we have a Buy a Brick campaign with the school kids. He was reluctant at first, but we talked him into it, and he decided, go ahead. This is a poor system, but we'll see what you can do. So in about 8 weeks, we brought in, when I say we, I mean the teachers and the other people that related, $86,000. He was flabbergasted. He didn't know what to make of it.
The nonprofit organization Teen Hype is putting on its 19th annual theater production on March 14th. The play is titled Two Detroits, and it tells the story of two teenagers from different walks of life and how they navigate the realities of living in our city. Here to tell us more about the play and the organization is Ambra Redrick. She is the CEO of Teen Hype, and she is joined by cast member Omega Clemons, who is a student at the Detroit School of the Arts, where we film American Black Journal. Welcome, both of you, to American Black Journal.
Thank you.
Yeah. So one of the things I love about Teen Hype and the whole idea is I feel like what you're doing is helping young people find their voice, and not only find their voice, but also find where and how they can use it.
Absolutely.
And it's such an important thing to do when you're a young person.
It is, it is. I'm sure you can remember those years during your teen years.
Yes. Sometimes fondly, sometimes not so fondly, but I remember.
The importance of having space to do that,
Mm-hmm.
that when you have those moments of self-discovery and you are trying to find out who you are, it's such a beautiful moment as you kind of stumble upon that. It's one of the beautiful things about teenagers.
How did you come up with the idea for Teen Hype?
Oh, I wish I could say I took credit for an idea. Co-founder, but it was a very divine order thing. We started our work many years ago in a hospital, actually, under public health. And we quickly discovered how important youth voice is. And those young people actually came together, created a council. A young person said, I've got an idea for a name. How about Teen Hype? And things just kind of took off from there. We did a lot of work in the community early on with young people, and one day we got a call for a larger audience and realized we couldn't do a normal didactic presentation, and we had to come up with this idea of trying to do theater.
Theater, right?
And that is where theater was born.
Yeah, and the number of young people who've gone through this program is phenomenal at this point.
We are going into year 21, so we are approaching adulthood also.
Right.
And it feels like, I can't believe that we've served well over 30,000 kids.
It's incredible. That number is just mind-blowing.
Yeah, it is, and still feels very small enough to see young people come through the door and still recognize them by name, and see young people that have gotten married and are doing wonderful things.
Yeah. And Omega, you are a member of Teen Hype, and you're playing a role in this new production. Tell us about how you got involved with Teen Hype, and then tell us about what you're doing in this play.
Well, how I got involved was, first, I didn't know anything about Teen Hype, but at the time I was homeschooled, and I was really looking for somewhere to, express myself and be myself and discover who I was. My father actually, he recommended Teen Hype to me, and I became interested, and I was just drawn to the opportunities that they were giving out. Like, I saw the singing, the chances of poetry, the chances of dancing and acting, and that really spoke to me. And I ended up signing up, and we went to the interview, because the interview process before you are admitted, actually in Teen Hype, and I passed the interview. And I was just greeted with so many friendly people, and I just felt like I already had a community without actually getting to, without having the bond yet.
Yeah.
There was already something there.
That's really powerful.
And I would say that's how I got involved in it, was just that my father was like, you should do it. I'm like, I should.
I'll try that out, right? So talk about this new play and the role that you're playing in it.
So with the role of the play, I have a role when it comes, not really acting-wise, but a role as in helping with the message of the play. I'm a YAC member, is a Youth Advisory Council.
Okay.
And we get together and we discuss ways to help out with the community, spread the message, because we have to play, that's for awareness, but we discuss how to actually put that into the community and how to actually make it a lot bigger than us.
Yeah.
So that is mainly my role when it comes to this play, is to put that message out there, is to really help people change their perspectives, or give them a new perspective and give them a new idea of what's really going on, and just being able to use my role to make a change in the world and to make a difference when it comes to teens and when it comes to even the adults, because everyone has a voice and everyone has everyone learns new things.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Ambra, let's tell viewers more about this play, Two Detroits. It's a phrase we use a lot in this city these days, and it is how a lot of folks feel about the city and the things that are happening, and so much change. So many things are changing. But talk about this play and the story it tells.
So this play explores the story of two young people who are siblings and how they are navigating two very different paths, being raised by different parents. And it is a tale that we all know, that young people that are under-resourced live one path, and sometimes young people who have better resources and opportunities have a different path, and that when you have less resources, there are different struggles, and how hard it is to navigate life, particularly here in Detroit. And I think our young people have done a phenomenal job of uplifting some of those challenges.
You allow the young people to kind of set the direction for all of this. I mean, as Omega was saying, she's part of this youth advisory council. They figure out how to stage this and put the message out there.
They look at a variety of topics. They take their job very seriously. And I push back, and they push back against me. And we went round and round a few times around gentrification. And I was like, why is that important? And they gave a lot of rationale and talked about like why we needed to talk about this now, to make sure that they just wasn't picking, some term that they heard. They are passionate about the things that they believe in, rightfully so. And so as you can imagine, once we kind of move over and allow young people to have a voice, they take off.
Yeah. And the play was written by a Teen Hype alum, is that right?
It is. Mallory Childs, Mariah Burton has put in some work into this play, and so I'm excited to see what they're going to bring to the stage.
Yeah. So, Omega, I wonder what in this play speaks to you, this idea of two Detroits, two siblings growing up in different households. Why does that resonate with you?
It resonates with me because, growing up, I had different siblings in different households, and I grew up like that. Also, the effects of, living in a world where, around us, the world is getting more and more expensive and everything is, changing. But yet it's hard for us to adapt because we're accommodated to this lifestyle, but then there's another lifestyle that's building around us, and it's hard to adapt to that. And living different lifestyles with two different, parents and different households. Because I grew up with that, I grew up with older brothers who were in different places, and I was here in Detroit and they were in other places, and just the fact that just living in a different culture, where being in a world like Detroit is always developing. There's new things happening every single day, but at the same time, it's hard to adapt to that when we're not at the same speed. So I say it resonates with me in that way when it comes to, the rapid changes of the economy and the rapid changes of...
You feel that.
Yeah.
Well, it's really great to have you here and to have you talk about this amazing work over such a long period of time. Ambra and Omega, thanks for being here with us on American Black Journal.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, that's going to do it for us this week. You can find out more about our guests at AmericanBlackJournal.org, and you can connect with us anytime on social media. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
From Delta faucets to Behr paint, Masco Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. Masco, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Support also provided by the Cynthia and Elsa Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit PBS.
DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit PBS. Among the state's largest foundations committed to Michigan-focused giving, we support organizations that are doing exceptional work in our state. Learn more at dtefoundation.com.
Also brought to you by Nissan Foundation and viewers like you. Thank you.